about that? Well, no, it's not that. I'm not talking about whataboutery. I'm happy to talk about Xinjiang, but I also want to make the point that the way in which it has been discursively framed as a genocide, that operation, that way in which it happened, you could very well take that same operation and reverse it and say, good God, look at what the United States did in Iraq. It was genocidal behavior. That's one point I'd like to make. The second point I want to make on this is that, look, let's face it, the Chinese have a serious problem in that part of China, western part of China. They long neglected its economic development. They realized that Western China was long neglected. There's poverty rates there that are very high, and they've been trying to accelerate as part of the anti-poverty campaign to try to accelerate some economic development there. A lot of it has led to mechanization in the cotton fields. John Deere has enough bills of lading and purchase orders from China to come out there in public and say, look, we don't think it's genocide because we've been selling tractors to those cotton fields. I would like to see John Deere have the guts to do that. Just come out and publish the purchase orders from China. So many tractors. I've never seen so many tractors orders and combine harvesters in a situation of that kind of forced labor. Anyway, point I want to make is that they do have a problem with Islamic radicalization. You
Right.
see, this goes back to a long time before. In 2001, now the United States is leaving Afghanistan, but in 2001, before the US entered Afghanistan in October of that year, the Chinese had called a meeting called of a group that was known as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO. It was countries that neighbored Afghanistan, and they called this organizational meeting to set up an organization to be seized of the problem posed by the Taliban and Al Qaeda to the whole region. Because in Turkmenistan, in Uzbekistan, in Kyrgyzstan, on the border of Xinjiang, radicalization had taken place. And even in Xinjiang province, there was this East Turkmenistan group set up, trained in Afghanistan, starting to do operations in China. You see, now the Chinese had several openings before them. They could have gone the Russian way and made Xinjiang into Chechnya. They could have just garrisoned the place, gone in, bombed towns, tanks all over the place, and so on. They didn't take the Russian road. Let's face it. The Chechnya road was open to them. The Russians had done 2 wars in Chechnya on the same issue of radicalization, right? And also in Dagestan, South Ossetia, they had sent in troops. It was pretty brutal stuff. So that's possible. You could have done that, but the Chinese didn't do that. They also had in place the possibility of doing what the CIA was doing, which is running in, and this is before 9/11, friends, running into a country, grabbing somebody, taking them to a black site, torturing them, getting information, and so on. There has been no evidence that the Chinese did a kind of Guantanamo operation in Xinjiang in this period. They could have done that. There was a bomb blast in Urumqi done by radical organizations. It has seized people in that area. They are worried about it. Uyghurs and non-Uyghurs are worried about radicalization. So they have started some kinds of projects to de-radicalize the society. Now, let me ask people, what do you think is the preferred option? A Chechnya option, a Guantanamo option, or what they are trying to do in Xinjiang with these kind of schools and whatever they are, and we don't know enough about what they're doing. And I would like to go and visit these places and see for myself. But I do know, Richard, I do know it's not Chechnya. Nobody has said it's like Chechnya. There are no tanks and bombs and things flying. Chechnya, why only talk about Chechnya? It's not Libya. It's not Iraq. It's not Afghanistan when the US bombed from the air. It's none of those places. And Mike Pompeo coming out as the defender of Muslims is the height of hypocrisy.
That's for
What
sure.
defender of Muslims, Mike? You were the head of the CIA, Mike. You were in favor of the Iraq war, Mike. Where has this come from? To see the last governor of Hong Kong, the British colonial governor of Hong Kong, talking about democracy in Hong Kong, beggars belief, Richard. It beggars belief. Chris Patton had no democracy, he had no process of democracy when he was the last governor general in Hong Kong. Chris Patton now talking about democracy in Hong Kong on BBC, it is a shame. BBC has shamed itself on Zimbabwe, it is shaming itself on this. These are old colonial storytellers. So this is an important issue. What are the ways forward? I would like to have people, sensitive, sensible people, tell me what they think the way forward is against radicalization, because it is a serious issue.
Well, let's